Welcome back, Sips and Giggles fam. I feel like maybe I shouldn't be welcoming you back. Maybe it should low-key be welcoming me back. I'm just now realizing that the last podcast episode that I published, and I emphasize published because I have recorded a bunch and not had the balls to publish them, but the last one that has been up that you guys have been able to access was in February of 2019. It's been an entire year. So for that, I apologize, but I am super excited to be back on the podcast. I'm excited to be back to content creation altogether. I have missed it tremendously over the past year. Granted, I have definitely gone through a lot of life changes over the past year, so I needed some time off, but also at the same time, I was dealing with some not so great shit when it comes to this stuff. Just to be completely transparent and vulnerable with you guys, got some not so very nice messages from people who were very open and honest about how they didn't think I had a right to come out here and share my message and try to, advocate for others in our community. And I think that the issue was that they saw it as me stepping in, trying to be someone that can offer you a solution to your mental health needs, offer you how to lose weight or how to gain weight with your fitness. Guys, I am still on my own journey with all of those things. So please, I am not your guru. I am not here to tell you how to make your life better, but I know from my own personal experience that I struggle less when I know there are other people struggling alongside of me. And sometimes, we see the trend of anxiety and depression being like a topic coming up a lot in social media, which is phenomenal because it means that we're taking more of that stigma away. It means we're talking about it more. But for me and a lot of you guys out there, for the reasons why you step into content like this is there's a lot more going on around that. So as much as I can show you that real life example, as much as I can give you a community to lean on, whether it be myself or someone else in our community, I'm here for it. But I want to be honest in that those messages didn't feel great and definitely led to me stepping out of this space for a little bit. But I am back. It's really difficult transitioning back in though. I guess back when I was doing content creation within the past few years, it was exciting and motivating to do this content creation because I didn't have any fear of judgment. The people that I guess I would fear them judging me were my teammates and the people that I was working with, and they were all also doing the same thing. We were all coaches. We were all cheering each other on. There was no judgment or second guessing anyone stepping in and doing a YouTube video or posting up a podcast episode, or, we would go out and do photo shoots for each other so that we would have content for Instagram. That is not the case in my life anymore. I work in an office. I absolutely love my job. I've never been so happy with a mission that I'm aligning with. But with that being said, now I have that voice in the back of my head of what are they going to think? When I post the preview on Facebook and my director sees it, what is he going to think? What are, the other girls in the office going to say about me when I post something on Instagram? So fear of judgment has definitely been a really big hindrance in me stepping back full force. But instead of allowing it to hold me back anymore, I decided we are going to address it together. So today's episode, we are going to be pulling apart, fully dissecting fear of judgment, and I've decided to bring in Miss Courtney Frio to help us out chatting about how to be able to kind of move beyond that fear of judgment, why you have it, how to break it down, and how to live a life without that fear of judgment. So pour it up. Get the pre-workout going. Let's get into it.
Welcome to Sips and Giggles. I'm here to offer all of my lack of filter, real deal BFF services. I'm talking from life crisis like, oh my God, I think I need to quit my job, to much less extreme examples like, oh my God, what should I eat? You can call your friends for the fluff and the distractions, that's fine. But I am here to deal with 3 a.m., heart to heart, no tolerance for the bullshit level conversation. So pour it up, whatever gets you going. It could be $7 boxed wine, coffee blacker than your soul, or for me, pre-workout because for whatever reason, it makes me all preachy and chatty and in touch with myself. But get a good glass full because you are in for a ride.
All right, so I'm super excited to be stepping into this brand new episode. I know it's been, at this point, about a year since something's been published here on the Sips and Giggles podcast, so I figured with everything going on over the past year, why not, one, bring it back in a big way, but two, also bring it back with our very first guest to be published on this side. So Courtney is here with me today to speak about fear of judgment and kind of her side of things and some of the things that she's been through in order to get to the stage of life that she's in and in order to live her most transparent and vulnerable life. But with that, I want to give you a little bit of background myself. Courtney and I actually went to high school together, but I don't think we really hung out that much. We definitely did the artsy stuff together, right, Court? I guess
I think we
choir and stuff like that.
And then we only like interacted maybe once or twice.
We have this Polaroid picture from, I think it was your prom because we're different classes.
No,
and I remember taking the picture. It was mine.
It was your prom.
Jesus, shout out to JFK. I remember taking this picture and being like, she's cool. Wish I hung out with her a little bit more while I was in high school for 4 years.
I don't even know how we got to take that picture.
Dude, I don't remember. I think just because of the people we were like dancing and interacting with, like our groups just happened to mesh. Because I definitely didn't walk up to you like, hey, do you want to take a selfie? But I'm glad we did.
Right. I'm here for it.
I look back at that picture. Oh, it's so adorable. We actually just looked at it before recording. But with that being said, we obviously didn't have much of a friendship to flourish and grow after. And then I moved out of New Jersey, and Courtney moved out of New Jersey, which didn't leave much room for friendship there. But we reconnected over basically, like, I don't even want to say online fitness coaching. That was a good part of what we did, obviously, when we were both with Beachbody. Ignore Nala whining in the back. But it was more so like opening up on social media altogether and creating content and working together and quote unquote influencing, even though I hate that term. So Court, I'm super excited to have you here on Sips and Giggles. I gave my piece, but why don't you introduce yourself to the listeners who might not have seen you on social media quite yet?
Introductions make me feel weird because I feel like I never know what to talk about in introductions, and I feel like I always give the same standard response for absolutely everything, like, hi, my name is Courtney, and then I just be feeling like I'm in a, what is that? An AA group, like, hi.
Hi, Courtney.
right. And I feel like that's what introductions always feel like, and it goes the same way when, like, I'm in an interview, and that's like the one question I'd be like, please don't ask me, please don't ask me. And it's like, and then they ask you, and you're like, oh,
man.
And then I just sit there, and I'm like, well, I have a dog. I love my dog. And then the vegan.
That's the go-to.
Right. And then I'm like, God, now I'm that girl. Now I'm that person saying that I'm the vegan when it was like, that's my goal not to do. But anyways, nonetheless, this is Courtney. What's going on? I did get into the social media realm from like fitness and everything. And that's, like you said, how we kind of rekindled our friendship and how things kind of kept going along. And then, it blossomed a beautiful thing. We came and then we started going to Indianapolis. Then I started visiting you in Philly. I think you came down to Florida one time, but you came down. I
did a year ago.
Right. And then but then your sister was there. And so then we all kind of rekindled that. So it's just been like a really cute, I feel like it's been a really cute friendship because we started off kind of just from like knowing each other to just being really, really good friends. And I think I can thoroughly appreciate that, and just like how social media is able to kind of bring people together in that way. Even though we lived so close to each other, we even legitimately went to the same high school and really barely ever talked besides that one encounter.
That one encounter at prom or one encounter at show choir. And it's crazy because, like, and my listeners obviously know, but I struggle with social anxiety like a lot. So it is not like me to just come up and be like, hey, Courtney, I know you and I never really talked, but I want to be your friend, or like, but I saw you on social media and you're super cool, so let's work out together. So
Right.
it was difficult for me in the beginning because I have that fear of judgment. Wow, plug. But at the same time, you at that point, you were already building your social media to be not only a platform just for visual content and like sharing your day to day, but it was very much like female empowerment, and your fitness content was less about being fit and more about like really taking in the value of your body. It was inspiring. So I was like, all right, well, I don't know her through a fucking hole in the wall. Like we've met twice, but this is going to have to happen. And Courtney has legitimately become one of my very best friends. Like, I think you know things about me that would probably get me locked up in any other situation. So fear of judgment is definitely out the window.
For sure. For sure.
So let's start talking about this. And this is actually a really big topic and something that I've gotten a few requests on, and then obviously like messages and stuff. Being in the social media world and putting our lives out there is obviously a very big risk that we take. And sharing transparently can really be beneficial to our followers and the people who are, I don't want to say looking to us for advice, but who just need to know that they're not alone. But at the same time, it does come with a lot of negative attention. So I get questions all the time, I'm sure you do too, of like, how do you do it? How do you post those hard posts? Or how do you talk about the things that you know people are going to think something of? And even outside of social media and just everyday life, getting over kind of that fear of judgment. And one thing that, you know, I always talk about with everyone who brings it up is we as humans kind of, fear of judgment is a learned behavior. You know, you don't have that when you're a little kid and you're fucking stuffing mud in your face. Like, you're not worried about like, oh my God, who's going to see me? Like, do I have mud in my teeth? Like, right, exactly. It's just a matter of doing, and like we do out of pleasure for ourselves, or we do because it's fun, and then you grow into this adult or through your teenage years, and that's typically when it starts to settle in, and then you're worrying about what the cute boy or girl thinks about you, or you know what the parents and teachers think about you, and it becomes a really toxic habit, but it's one that we pick up. So Court, for you, when do you feel your fear of judgment started to develop, I guess, as like a low-key habit?
What I was just thinking is that I was trying to just actually think about where it even came from. Because honestly, I don't have a specific pinpoint moment where I was like, this is the day that I knew that I started feeling judgment, or this is the day that I felt like someone was giving me the trait to, I guess, like go out and feel like I need to be judged in some sort of a way. I just knew that I woke up one day, here it was, and then growing my social media, I just had to like go in with the attitude like, okay, fuck it, like whatever. And honestly, everybody or anybody that follows me knows that I post a little bit of more like provocative photos sometimes, and I've had that whole conversation on my podcast as well, and just like being out there and putting myself out there in that. And I mean, if you know me in person as well, you know that sometimes I dress in the same mannerisms outside. So I'm still looking at that, you know, those same negative commentaries when I go outside in the same manners. And so I think for me, it was just like really honing into that mindset of just like, really like, who gives a fuck? At the end of the day, someone's going to always say something, whether it's good, bad. And honestly, like, I really don't care. If I'm happy, if I feel good, like the whole point of everything that I was always trying to like spread about is always just like feeling good about who you are, and like just walking around in the skin that like you're honestly really happy in. And I know like there's some days where it's like, maybe I feel like shit, or like I'm looking in the mirror and I don't feel great, but I'll continuously, like, just tell myself a little bit every day, like, you know what, like, just fuck it. Like, you're beautiful. Like, you look good, honey. Like, it doesn't really matter.
You look good, honey.
You know? And so it's just, like, constantly having that mentality of just, like, fuck it, fuck it, fuck it. Honestly, it just becomes, like, whatever. And I obviously, you've known that I've gotten so many comments or, like, so many DMs at times where it's, like, I don't want to necessarily say that I've gotten hateful messages, but I've definitely gotten messages about like, oh, maybe you shouldn't post that. And like some of the older crowd that follows me, they'll be like, oh, you should be a little more conservative. You should hide your body more. And I'm like, bro, why? Like I worked so at the, whatever point in time,
Yeah.
like I worked so hard. And then coming from a lot of like what I struggled with as a younger kid with all the eating disorders and everything like that, like growing into that and like actually accepting like eating food and being happy with the weight that came onto me, it felt so good to just be able to like put myself out there and just be happy for me with the skin that I was able to share, and that I wasn't so torn between, okay, do I have to eat or am I going to look good for a day? You know what I'm saying? And so kind of building that is what formed, I would say, would be the basis of how I kind of came out of that shell to be like, you know what, just do whatever the fuck you want, because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter.
And I feel like you really do embody that fuck it mentality in like all levels of life, which is so difficult to do. I don't think people realize how strong you have to do, how strong you have to be rather, to be able to just kind of like throw it to the wind and go. But at the end of the day, that's the mentality everybody needs to carry. Is like, fuck it. Like I'm doing for me, and it feels good, or it serves my higher
and
purpose,
you just be
or
at the end of the day.
yes, absolutely, yes. And the crazy thing is, at this point, and maybe I feel like it's more important for women, or we at least do it a little bit more, but we notice a lot more of ourselves and judge ourselves a lot more than other people judge us. I'm busy walking around the office. Bless you, Nala. She's sneezing on me in bed. I'm busy walking around the office and there's a run in my tights. I'm stressing about it. I'm trying to cover it with my skirt. I'm trying to plan a time where I could run home to change. Nobody in that office gives a fuck that my tights are ripped. Nobody would care if I took them off. Nobody would care.
Legitimately just fucking thinking about this, because I think, what was it? Fucking Kendall Jenner was talking about her nose, like some outrageous thing, and she was like, oh, that my nose is so horrible, I've always wanted to get surgery on my nose. And I was like, bitch, what? Like, ain't nobody even paying attention to your nose. And it's like, I feel like that was kind of the moment that clicked for me too, where I was like, yo, people like really don't care. Like, and we focus so much on what we don't like about ourselves that we're concentrating so much on what that is, that it seems so big to us and seems so relevant that like the first thing we do is look in the mirror and I'm like, damn, like what the fuck is this? Like what's going on? It's like when you get a pimple and then you're
you feed into
cover it. Right. And then you go outside and people are like, yo, I literally didn't even notice. And sometimes that's legitimately true. It's not even like people are just saying it. Like people actually sometimes don't even see it because they're not stressed and worried about what's going on in your face. Like everybody has their own stress. Everybody's got to deal with their own stuff. And it's just like, it's not as big as we think it out to be.
Not at all. Ever. But we are just so conscious of ourselves and the standard that we hold ourselves to, and honestly the standard that we assume other people hold us to as well, that it's like we're always hyper focused on it, which sucks because honestly that judgment of ourselves will always stem from some kind of deeper limiting belief. And I know I sound like the super woo-woo person, or like I have bought into the, motivational speaker cult, but it's true. Those limiting beliefs that you harbor deep inside of you are what feed into these really dumb judgments that you have of yourself, and the anxiety that you give when you think other people are noticing these things too. And I don't know, I feel like for a lot of people, that's probably the first thing that they should be addressing if they want to take bigger steps in their life, and the last thing that they're willing to put the effort into. But, all right, so Court, for example, right? You have a limiting belief, whatever it may be. What's one, I guess, example of how your fear of judgment has just been a projection of a limiting belief?
I guess I would say that, like, there are moments where I'll be like, maybe this is too much. And then it'll kind of, like, give me it'll be, like, for a brief moment, honestly, though. And it'll happen every now and again where I'll honestly think, okay, maybe this is too much. Like, what if, like, my parent sees it? Or what if someone I was trying to get a job sees this? And it hinders that kind of aspect. But then I kind of take another step back and I'm like, well, what am I really doing this for? Like, is it really just a provocative picture that I'm just trying to post and like flaunt? or like what's the kind of meaning behind it for me? I know that for others it might just be a picture, and it might just be like a dumb comment or whatever caption it is underneath it. But what is it really doing for me? It's actually telling myself that, you know, I'm still able to put myself out there in a mannerism that still makes me feel beautiful and still acknowledges what I need to know. And it's not for anybody else. It's not for, you know, the world to see. Obviously, I'm posting it publicly, but it's reminding myself that I'm still able to put myself out there, and I can still tell myself, like, who the fuck cares? Like, you know, and it's just like that would kind of be those tiny points is kind of where it takes. It's like, you know, maybe this is too much, and that's kind of where I get taken aback at those moments.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's so sad that that's even a thought that you can have when it could be like someone of a higher pay grade or a celebrity who posts something way more provocative. Scandalous is perfect, right. And it's totally like okay. We don't think anything of it.
Followers aren't going to care. It's like, why am I being so held aback just from that, you know? From my happiness, as opposed to just posting whatever it is.
Absolutely. Let me tell you, I've been so beat down by the thoughts of other people, and not even just my own self-judgment being projected on other people, but like, you know, people coming to me and having not so great things to say, because not everyone's nice all the time, and that's fine. But then I'll ruminate on it and bring it into other things and question my ability. It's always been a matter for me of like, all right, I know I really want to do this. I know I really want to accomplish it. I know I really want to share this message, but like, am I the person to do it? Am I able? Is it appropriate for me to share this message? Is it appropriate for me to be going after this goal, which is ridiculous? And it is of itself a very deep limiting belief that, you know, I do my woo-woo practices and I sit down and I journal and I have to work through. But at the end of the day, it's something that stepping outside of myself and being like, all right, like you said, what's the intention behind this? If the intention is for attention from other people, then like maybe it's not worth the effort. But
right.
Our intentions are so much larger than that a lot of times on social media, in work, in even steps that you want to take in a relationship. I know that that's a big thing, especially when you're starting a new relationship. There's always that pitter patter of like, okay, I know what I want, but maybe I should, you know, also take into consideration what I assume the other person wants. Am I being too much? Am I being too little? And you have that fear of judgment of someone that you are literally trying to build a life with.
I think that if anything, I have less fear of judgment from like that kind of crowd basis as opposed to the relationship. Because I feel like a lot of the times I'll be sitting here, and like my wife and I talk about that a lot, when we both kind of do it, where we'll have conversations with one another in our heads, but we won't ever actually physically communicate with each other. And that like really hinders that process. And I know that for me, it's a matter of, okay, well, in my head, I can control the conversation. So if you're not liking what I can say, I'm still controlling the conversation, as opposed to if I'm having the conversation aloud, she has every right to be able to say whatever the fuck she wants to say and feel however she wants to feel. And that's the kind of fear of like, okay, well, now I don't have control of the conversation. Where can this go? What is she going to think about it? Or whatever having the conversation is going. But I feel like that, I would say, is a lot bigger for me than any outsource.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that that part just like hits harder to home. You're like, okay, well, I'm about to see you every day. Like, I'm trying to grow this thing with you. Like, if you're judging me, I don't know.
It's personal, and you obviously you want to be able to present your best self, so it absolutely makes sense. But at the same time, like, you're not going to wake up to my best self in the morning every morning. You're going to wake up to like my crusty self. So I might as well introduce you to that part of me now. And I know, you know, for me, and you know, some of the listeners may or may not know that, depending on what other social media you're part of. But I recently got out of a very long relationship. Recently started a very new relationship, and I'm obviously very open about all of my mental health stuff everywhere, Facebook and on social media in general, and with my job and with my family. Like, there's no shame there. I've never felt shame until the first time that I had to sit down with my partner and explain my mental health needs And suddenly it felt like a weakness. Suddenly it felt like baggage. And it was
You were,
because
like,
of that
hiding again.
judgment. Absolutely. It was, okay, like, how do I tippy-toe around this conversation and present it lightly so that I don't first of all, that I don't scare him away and make him think that I'm crazy, but also at the same time, I don't want to be needy. And I just spiraled into this whole thing of my assumption of his judgment on me. And because of that, it hindered us being able to communicate appropriately about those things until eventually he called me out and was like, so obviously you're crazy.
Obviously, you're
crazy.
crazy.
Like, you're going to have to explain to me the things that I don't know, but I'm willing to listen, but like, I can't read your mind, so you're going to have to tell me. And we don't have that opportunity in every part of our lives. We need to be able to step out of the fear of judgment bubble and not just wait for someone to, pull us out of that fog that sometimes we stick ourselves into. Mm-hmm. So let's live like an ideal life. Ideal life, the fear of judgment, that limiting belief, it doesn't exist. You don't have that instinct, that response just doesn't happen. It doesn't hinder you. Court, what does your ideal look like? Ideal life, rather, look like? What kind of life would you live if that just wasn't a mental response for you?
I think, going back on like what I was saying, I think that I would just have a more like freer and open relationship, in the sense of like open communication. Like, I wouldn't be so hell bent on not necessarily hiding things, but being less fearful on speaking and taking longer to say things, as opposed to just saying them the moment that I'm feeling them, or whatever's like on my mind, and just saying it immediately, instead of having that fear of judgment or fear of whatever, is going to happen in the response. And then I feel like the relationship with anyone would just be a lot easier and happier if I was able to do that.
Yeah, it's natural. It's at that point we're allowing it to just be a natural relationship.
It wouldn't feel so hard, like I'm trying to like pull fucking teeth out, like, bro, just say it, like, just say it. It's gonna be better if you just fucking say it. Because I feel like a lot of times that's like the mental, now, like, I'm obviously working on it a lot more, and I've gotten a shit ton fucking better from where I was.
You have.
I feel like I have.
Proud of you. Claps.
Thank you.
All right, Courtney, let's see if we can leave our listeners with some tangibles, I guess. What would be your tip, I guess, in stopping fear of judgment in its tracks? When you've already identified it, it's happening, you're having that mini anxiety attack, what can our listeners do to, de-escalate that situation for themselves and just move forward with what fucking feels good?
I would say two things. Two things that always help me is reminding myself why I'm doing what I'm doing. If the reason about it is good, like, is it making me feel good? Just acknowledging, like I said, just why you're doing what you're doing. And the second thing is just legitimately, like, out loud saying, who the fuck cares? I'll be doing it with a clap. I'll be doing it with my head shaking. Just who the fuck cares? And then just do it. Whatever it is, just fucking do it. And it's just like, just fucking do it. Like, just do it. Don't let yourself think about it. Just do it. I'd be fucking Nike.
I was going to say, all right, Nike, relax. This episode is not sponsored by Nike, but, if y'all want to sponsor me,
let's just make y'all
just so you know, the invitation's here. I'm a size 3.
Always welcome. I will sign gladly.
Anyway, total fucking sidetrack. This is like the nature of this is pre-workout at its very best. Ooh, words. But no, I totally agree. Sometimes you just need to kind of take that second and just be like, nope, snapping out of it. And it's crazy because I'm the opposite. Like, I can't, as much as I would like to be able to just turn off, in some moments I can't just look at myself in the mirror and be like, all right, bitch, like, put your panties on and go. But in those moments, even when I'm deep and I'm drowning, I refuse to accept that I'm drowning. Typically play like 20 questions, I guess, in the moment. Like, what am I afraid of? Why am I afraid of it? Why am I feeling that way? And peel it back like an onion until I hear how it's absolute nonsense. Like, I think sometimes I just need to get it in my mind and have a moment with myself of like hearing how fucking dumb my fear of judgment sounds. And at that point, like, I can slap myself around a bit and be like, all right, like, get your life back together and continue moving forward. All right, Court. Well, I appreciate having you on with us today on Sips and Giggles. I think that moving forward, if any of our listeners listen to, if any of the listeners listen to future episodes that we do together, we should make a drinking game out of it. And you take a shot every time someone says,
I'm
fuck.
Here for it. And now you know you girl legal. So.
Yes, happy belated 21st birthday. Let everyone know where to find you, where you are on social media, what you stand for, what they can expect, so that they can start diving into your content as well and, you know, get those empowered female vibes like I got years and years ago.
I'm here for all the men and women who want to love and appreciate their bodies for what they are. I just changed my user handle and I still don't know how to get it right, but it's pe.ach. _. Hey, okay, I got it right.
You did. I'm proud of you. I checked it.
I know. But, I mean, that's really the only handle that I use right now. And then, obviously, all of my podcasts are on YouTube as of the moment until after this one. And then you girl gonna be new and redefined. But that is just Courtney Frio at youtube.com. That's where you can find your girl.
Well, I really appreciate you hopping on with me today, Court. Definitely check out all of her content on Instagram, content on podcasts. You want to hear more of her. We'll keep her around, obviously. We love her here in the Sips and Giggles family. But for right now, we are going to peace out. If you guys need anything, you know where to find me. Hop in the comments, shoot me a DM. But for right now, it's time to go. Thanks, everyone.